Welcome along, and today in the Army Analysis series we are looking at the mighty German Imperial 1200 AD army, and this army is just a real bit of a juggernaut, really. In my opinion, to tell you from the beginning, I think this is one of the best armies in the game. I think I did play with them a couple of seasons ago in the league, and I did pretty well. And we're going to go through some of the reasons why I think that this army is just terrific. I mean, number one, look at the amount of units you've got. I mean, you've just got absolutely everything in this list. You don't need allies. There are a few allies you can take, but just the basic. This is just the German Imperial 1200 list, and you've got everything. You've got everything. The last video I did, that desert nomad army, Tuareg, we had 5. We only had 5 different kinds of units in the whole army. I mean, look at this. Look at this. So much choice, and that is one big advantage. There's just different ways to play, and you know, as we go on in the video, towards the end, I'll go through a few different options you have. This is just my suggestion of how I might set up, but you know, that might vary a little bit according to who I'm playing and the map as well. But you can, you know, take out some infantry, add cav. You've got some dismounted knights, the good ones. You can add or take out a few, and you know, add some skirmishers, or I mean, literally all of the good kind of units. The units I really like are, most of them are in this list. I mean, mounted crossbowmen, I think they're one of the best units in the game, because cavalry is just so weak against missile fire. They can disrupt quite quickly, so mounted crossbowmen are great for firing upon cav. The low country spearmen, they're one of my favorite units because they're the heavy foot. They're not the medium foot type. They're just a huge unit. You know, they're and you know, there's so many unique kind of units in this list because you don't really get access to the low country spearmen in so many armies. It's just the Free Canton army and some of the German lists. And you know, it's just a large unit. Rather than 200 odd men, you've got, you know, 350. So that's a great unit. You've got armored spearmen, and you know, I've been fairly critical, especially the offensive kind. I think 48s, they're too expensive, because overall in the game, I think armor it's just expensive in general. It doesn't give you that much extra in the POA a lot of the time. But you know, when you're adding up all the points and you've got some spare points, I mean, going up from your armored defensive spear to armored spearman, you know, there's only six difference there between your defensive spear and your armored defensive spear. So it's just got everything. You've even got raw spearmen as well, which I think are great at 24. You've got crossbowmen. Not all armies have crossbowmen. You've even got raw crossbowmen, and there's not many armies that have that. 21, that is a bargain. It's a bargain. So, you know, and it just goes on and on and on, because these are probably some of the best units in the game. They look wonderful. I've talked about them before they made in my top 10 list of units in medieval. They were number 1. You know, most of you will know of them and played against them, played with them. These dismounted knights are 78, fully armored, superior, heavily armored, superior. They're just fantastic. They just rip through most infantry units. And because most armies don't have dismounted knights, they're often the best units on the field. And you know, if they're up against defensive spearmen, they're not going to last for that long. And you can field up to 7. I mean, that is, you know, 78. You're not going to. I don't think most players would take 7 or anywhere close to 7. But even if you can take 3, which I have, I mean, look at my army. I think when I counted, it was around 19 units, and I've got 3 of the dismounted knights. It's just really hard to play against this army. Definitely one of the best armies in medieval. It's, you know, doesn't have many weaknesses. Okay, I haven't taken any skirmishers. They don't have any of the cheaper end skirmishers. But if you wanted to, you know, you could take out some more crossbowmen. I've got 4 here, and just add a couple of skirmishers. You know, it's all possible, even though there's only 4. But when you've got so many crossbowmen and these raw crossbowmen, it's not so bad. And with this kind of army, you just want to get going. You know, you want to use your dismounted knights. You want to use your larger sized heavy infantry units and your armor. You just want to get going. You've got also 2 in this setup I've put together. You've got 2 mounted knights as well. It's just awesome army. Okay, you don't have that many medium foot infantry. You've got 3 you can pick. But I mean, you know, if the map was awful with tons of rough ground, then, you know, you'd still have the option to take a little bit of medium foot, which is good. So, you know, you've even got these Teutonic Order knights, the best knights in the game. If I wanted to, I mean, I can't take up these because they're already in the list. But there's lots of options. You know, if I really wanted another knight unit, then I could maybe take out some mounted crossbow and take out one of my armored spearmen and add. Yeah, there's just so many combos. I mean, I was just playing around. For example, if I took out one of the raw crossbowmen, I took out one of these low country spearmen. Look at that, 78. I can add another dismounted knight unit. So I've only, I've only lost, I've lost 1 infantry unit altogether. I've taken out 2 and I've added a dismounted knight unit. I mean, if I took out 1 raw crossbowman and actually it was, what was it? It was the raw spear. Okay, if I took out one of the raw spear and I took out one of the mounted crossbowmen, look at that, 60. I can get a city knight. You need more cav. You've got your city knights. There are knightly lancers. Yeah, at 60, they're pretty fair price. If I took out 2 dismounted knights, that's a lot. It's like 156 points there. So I've taken out 2 dismounted knights. I can add one defensive spearman. I can add one of the raw spearmen. I can add an armored spearman, and I can add, it just seems to work out exact, doesn't it? Look, 54. I can take my low country spearmen. So, I've doubled my infantry. I've taken out 2 of the dismounted knights, and I've got all of this. This is from the other selection. So I've added 4 infantry units. And as I mentioned in one of my other videos, if you're playing, say for example, a lot of the Arab armies, you might not need lots of elite infantry, superior quality infantry, because the best kind of units are the veteran Muslim spearmen at 57. The price has just gone up. And then there's going to be a lot of irregular foot, and there's going to be a lot of just standard spear. So you just really want to bulk out more, and just have a couple maybe of the better infantry units. So you can do it. So many options. So many options. The records, when I looked at the record in the Digital League from season 1 to 11 for the German 1200 AD army, it was 49 wins, 4 draws, and 37 losses, which I thought it would be slightly better, but that's taken into account absolutely everyone who's ever taken this army out. So it works out at about 54% win rate, which is up there. It's when I checked some of the win rates in classical, I mean some of those Roman armies, the Carthaginian armies, the ones that people like, Hannibal in Italy, and so on and so forth, they're around the same. They're around 54, 55. So it's top end, actually. It works out at one of the best win rates. And you can see why. Now, how would I play against this army? And season 12 is starting up soon, and you're going to be coming up against this monster of an army. I would probably take a little bit extra cav, because the player is probably going to go more infantry heavy. It's likely. You've always got to guess what your opponent's going to take, but it's likely he'll probably take dismounted knights and some of these better infantry units. So lancers, a good few lancers. If you can have access to the Muslim lancers, the Byzantine lancers around 41, some lancers around 45, 46, best equipped cav, stuff like that. Maybe also javelin horse, nomad horse archers. Maybe these kind of units might be quite good, because head to head, infantry on infantry, there's not many armies that are going to beat this. So you've got to play a little bit, a little bit wisely and be a bit sneaky. You don't really want to go head on, or you want to use some rough ground. If you're one of the Arab lists, you probably got quite a bit of medium foot. Use the medium foot, try and bring the heavy infantry, draw it onto the medium foot. If you've got a lot of crossbowmen, you can use crossbowmen. Maybe play a little bit defensive. I probably would. even artillery. I almost never take artillery, but maybe light art. Anything that you can use to try and disrupt some of these units and try and gain an advantage. But it's not easy, because also, my kind of build here is more infantry heavy, but when you look at the list, you can take sergeants at 36, which is a great buy. You've got your mounted crossbowmen at 36, and a lot of lists don't have cheaper end cavalry. I mean, that Papal army that I did my first video in High Middle Ages we didn't have any of the cheaper end cav. We just had some knights and some city knights. So okay, we haven't got lancers, but we've still got these units which are, they're effective. In conjunction with knights, they can just be hard to deal with, because even though they're not that great, they're cheap, and they can threaten flanks in support of knights, bulk out your cav. Not easy to play this army. You're going to need some luck. Okay, there's a fair bit of poorer quality units. We've taken a fair bit of the raw spear, but in my experience, these raw spearmen, I mean, I've played games. I remember last season I was playing a game, and especially from mid-game on, when knights, they're losing men, because they're not such large units. You've got 118 men, and my opponent was getting rather angry because my raw spearmen were holding against knights, just holding. They were getting charged. They were in melee. I managed to maybe bring out around another raw spear or a defensive spear and doubling up on some. And these units can really do a great job of holding. So I don't see them as automatically being a weak link. Maybe more against infantry. Yeah, if you've got standard infantry, better quality infantry, try and get your infantry engaged on the raw spear. But with your cavalry, in my experience, it's more 50-50. You need a bit of luck to disrupt on impact. And if you can disrupt on impact with your lancers and knights, then okay, things are different. But quite often you don't disrupt on impact, and you kind of get stuck. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, so that's about it. I wish you luck if you're playing against the Germans. Post comments below. Maybe some of you have got some great tactics to take on this army. Maybe you've got some experiences to share. Maybe you've had some experiences playing with this army. It'll be interesting to see this season how this army does. We've just had the new DLC released today. Maybe they're going to struggle more against more cavalry heavy armies. There is a lot more cavalry heavy armies, I think, in the new DLC. So let's see how they do. Okay, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and see you again soon.